was really hard. A bunch of his friends were over there, and it was just, the look on his parents' face was just horrible.
The motive behind the violence is something everyone is struggling to understand. Their only clue, Seth's Facebook page and a series of messages and online argument that may have fueled a vicious murder.
About 30 minutes north of Orlando, you'll find Summerfield, Florida, a quiet corner of Marion County home to just under 34,000 people. Folks here will tell you it's about as peaceful as it gets. Sprawling horse farms, golf courses, quiet retirement communities, scenic trails winding along the lakes. Violent crime is rare. This is the kind of place people move to get away from trouble. But on one Sunday in the spring of 2011, that peace shattered, and what came out of it would leave investigators saying they'd never seen anything quite this disturbing. Sunday, April 17th, 2011. 15-year-old Seth Jackson had been texting his mom, Sonia, on and off all day. Nothing out of the ordinary, until the messages just stopped. No warning, no goodbye, just silence. At first, Sonia and Seth's dad, Scott, told themselves it was probably nothing. Seth had been going through a rough patch, a breakup, some teenage drama, and maybe he just needed space. But as the hours dragged on, that explanation stopped making sense. Seth always called his mom. He always told her where he was. This wasn't him blowing off steam. Something was wrong. Then the phone rang. An anonymous caller told her Seth had been badly hurt. No name, no location, no explanation. Just enough to send a mother's worst fears into overdrive. Within hours, Seth Jackson was officially reported missing. And that one phone call would set off an investigation that would peel back layer after layer of betrayal nobody saw coming. A story so twisted, it stuck with this Florida community for over a decade. This is a true crime documentary, and this is the story of what really happened to Seth Jackson. If you're watching this, drop a comment and let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, because we've got a lot more true crime documentaries like this one coming your way. Seth Jackson was the kind of kid everyone liked. Outgoing, funny, always outside. Dirt bikes and fishing were his thing, and he had his sights set on becoming a UFC fighter one day. He had two older brothers, but it was his mom, Sonia, he was closest to. They talked constantly. In fact, one of the last conversations anyone had with him that Sunday was with her. A phone call, followed by a string of texts. He'd asked for a ride home. When she told him it'd take about 10 minutes for his dad to get there and come get him, Seth suddenly snapped, "Never mind," and the call ended. It was odd, out of character. He'd mentioned something about meeting up with his ex-girlfriend, Amber, so Sonia passed that detail straight to police. Detectives tracked down Amber and a girl named Charlie Ileli. Both said they'd seen Seth, but only from across the street, at an intersection, apparently arguing with his mom. As investigators dug into his phone records and social media, a much messier picture started to form. Seth and Amber had dated for about 3 months, on again, off again, until it ended for good after Seth suspected she was cheating on him with 18-year-old Michael Bargo Jr., a guy who despised Seth, and the feeling went both ways. The breakup was bitter. The relationship itself had been anything but stable, tangled up in partying, and the kind of reckless choices that come with being that age. The moment things ended between Seth and Amber, she and Michael got close, fast, and almost all of it played out online. Facebook became the battlefield. Public posts, insults, accusations, days of back and forth that half the school was watching unfold in real time. Nothing private about it. Then, on the very day Seth disappeared, Amber texted him, asking if they could meet up and maybe get back together. His friend Brittany had a bad feeling about it. "I wouldn't fall for that," she warned him. Seth brushed it off. He said he was going to hear her out. So he headed toward the address Amber had given him, a run-down trailer, sitting quiet, waiting. And that was the last confirmed sighting of Seth Jackson before he vanished. The address was 13896 Southeast 53rd Avenue, a run-down trailer, mostly empty, barely furnished, rented by 18-year-old Charlie E. Lely. It wasn't a home. It was a hangout, dirty and neglected, where a small crew of teenagers spent their days with no rules, no school, and no one checking in on them. There was Michael Bargo Jr., 18, now apparently dating 15-year-old Amber. Her brother, 16-year-old Kyle Hooper, who'd once been friends with Seth, Charlie E. Lely, the trailer's tenant, and 20-year-old Justin Stowe, known to the group as Roach. Most of them were basically living there full-time. No supervision, no structure, just partying and property damage piling up by the day. When Seth's disappearance hit the local news, something shifted. Kyle Hooper went to his mom and asked to talk. What he told her was the beginning of a story that would leave detectives saying they'd rarely encountered anything so disturbing in their careers. Sitting in the police station beside his mother, Kyle repeated it for investigators. Seth had come to the trailer that day, and because of all the bad blood between him and Amber, Kyle admitted he'd confronted Seth, told him to get out, to leave them alone.
My name's Rhonda. And you must be Kyle. Tell me the story that you told your mom and start from the beginning, okay?
Okay. Seth wanted to talk to my sister, and I don't like the kid completely because he has put his hands on my sister, and I hit him over the head with a stick.
Who'd you hit?
Seth, and he was in the chair, and I got in the kitchen. I said, now get the fuck out the house. And then all of a sudden I hear bam, bam, bam. Mike sitting there laying bullets into him.
So you saw Mike Bargo shoot Seth?
Yes, ma'am.
Then came the question that changed everything. So you saw Mike Bargo attack Seth? Yes, ma'am. Kyle said he'd started to walk away, and that's when he heard several loud sounds. In that instant, he understood exactly what had just happened. His mother sat there, stunned, struggling to process that her own children had been anywhere near something like this. But Detective Rhonda Stroop, running point on the case, already suspected this was only the surface. Down the hall, Amber Wright was waiting for her turn, and she was about to tell a story of her own. Once Kyle's interview wrapped up, Amber took his place beside their mother.
Okay, Seth comes to us.
Seth knocked on the door and Charlie answered it, and she was like, well, what do you want? And he was like, I just need to talk to Amber, can I come in? She let him in, he sits in the chair. Me and her sitting by each other on the couch, and out of nowhere, Kyle just gets up and hits him.
Her version matched her brother's. Seth had shown up, Kyle had confronted him, tempers flared. But Amber added a detail of her own. She said she and Charlie had bolted into Charlie's bedroom the moment things escalated. From behind that door, she claimed, they heard several loud sounds, but insisted they hadn't actually witnessed anything.
I looked at Charlie, I was like, run. We ran to her room, went in her bathroom and shut the door. And we heard another door just fly open, and we just heard gunshot after gunshot after gunshot.
They stayed hidden for hours, she said. And when they finally came out, the trailer reeked of chemicals.
So when did you guys finally come out of the room?
The next morning,
Okay, about what time?
we didn't wake up till maybe 11, 12 o'clock.
Was anything different?
Oh, it just smelled like pure bleach in the house. That's it. Like, they tried to clean something up.
But detectives already knew this wasn't some spontaneous visit. Seth hadn't just wandered over to talk. Amber had steered him there, message by message. It started casually. Hey, can you talk? Followed by a phone call and more texts. Then Amber told him she wanted to meet up, but that she'd be bringing Charlie along. Don't tell anybody what's going on, she wrote, because I want to make sure we can work things out before anyone knows. Something about that struck a nerve with Seth. He replied, Amber, if you have me jumped, I will never give you the time of day. So if I get jumped, say goodbye. Amber shot back, I swear you're not jumped. I could never do that to you. I just want me and you back. Seth's instincts had been right to be uneasy. His friend Brittany felt it too. Sonia said that early on, Amber had seemed like any other teenage girl. Normal. Fine. But over time, she started noticing something colder underneath. Controlling behavior. Manipulation that didn't sit right. And once Amber and Michael got together, things darkened fast. Michael made no secret of hating Seth, convinced by what Amber had told him that Seth had mistreated her during their relationship. The argument spilled onto Facebook for everyone to see, and tension between Michael and Seth boiled over more than once in person. One day, Michael even showed up at Seth's house. Sonia overheard him say it herself. I'm going to make you pay. This had stopped looking like typical teenage drama a long time ago. It felt like something far more dangerous was building. Detective Stroop knew the only way to break the case open was to catch Amber in a lie. And in their second interview, she pushed hard.
This right here, and right now, Amber, is where the rubber hits the road. Okay? Your brother told me everything. So you can sit there and you can continue to lie and I'm going to walk out and treat you like a piece of garbage. Or you can sit here and treat me with the respect that I treated you with. Okay? And you can tell me the truth. What's your choice going to be? So let's start at the beginning again. And you tell me the story. And the first time that I think you're lying, I'm getting up and walking out of here and I don't care what happens to you.
Amber cried through most of the second interview, and she talked. A lot.
They got him in the house and laid him on the floor. And Mike shot him again.
Did you participate in cleaning up?
I just know the bleach was handed to Roach and he dumped it.
Who handed Roach the bleach?
Mike did.
Okay.
And it was dumped all in the kitchen. And Roach was on his hands and knees scrubbing it all up.
Did you scrub anything with bleach?
The door.
You scrubbed the door? What door?
The screen door that's like on the inside of the regular house door.
Okay. What were you thinking about getting Seth up there?
I don't know, I wasn't thinking at the time.
Did you just hate Seth that bad?
I didn't hate him. I was hurt.
Why were you hurt? What happened?
Because every time he told me he gave me an STD. And I got tested, but it came out negative. But then he kept trashing my name. I lost all my friends to him. Everybody that I was so close with didn't talk to me anymore.
So that's why you agreed to do this, because you were battling him? I'm just asking, between me and you, is that why? Was that your reasoning behind it? Was just you were mad?
I had no reason behind it.
You didn't have any reason?
I really didn't. Mike was just saying, well, you should call Seth and all this stuff. And
why would he want you to call Seth?
then he told me he wanted to be like by him.
No, that's not what he told you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, I'm gonna get up, walk out of here. It's your last chance. I'm not playing with you, little girl. Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm done with being lied to today.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start again. We're gonna start fresh. Where's Seth's body now?
They wouldn't let me see it. They told me, Mike told me that me and Kyle, that he was gonna take it to the quarry.
She described her relationship with Seth as good, at first, until partying crept in and everything shifted. She insisted it was never really a serious relationship to begin with, just teenagers making bad choices, tangled up in other people's drama, spiraling out of control. She stuck to her story. She and Charlie had hidden in the bedroom while Seth was attacked, fallen asleep, and woken up the next morning to find the trailer already cleaned. There was just one problem. Investigators had already been out to that trailer, and the bedroom Amber claimed she and Charlie hid in didn't even have a door. There was no way they hadn't seen what happened, and as more accounts started coming in, it became clear that Amber and Charlie's role went a lot deeper than hiding and waiting it out. One by one, everyone who'd been at the trailer that day was brought in. Charlie Ellery and Justin Stowe followed for their own interviews.
Hello. How are you?
Good. About to go crazy.
About to go crazy?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, we don't need that. I'm Detective Bill with the Sheriff's Office.
Charlie.
Charlie? What's your last name, Charlie?
Ely.
Who all lives with you in this house?
Justin Soto.
Is that your boyfriend or anything?
No, I'm married and my husband's in prison.
Is this the only person that lives with you, Justin?
There's Justin. Kyle just moved in not even a week ago.
Who else lives with you besides Kyle?
Well, Mike was staying, but he was there for a week. And
Mike?
Fargo.
So right now we have you, Justin, Kyle, and Mike?
And Amber doesn't live there, but like she's been over.
You do drugs?
I'm pregnant.
Okay, well, the reason why I'm asking
I have
is...
before.
So after an hour, Seth came back to your house?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened after that?
I let him in, and he sat in the chair.
You let Seth in?
Yes, I let him in because he said he wanted to talk to Amber. So I let him in, not thinking anything was wrong with it. Amber and Seth were talking, and Kyle comes out of nowhere and hits him, and me and Amber dart to my room.
Where'd he hit him at?
Over the head. Because, like, I looked back, and while me and Amber were running to my room. And Kyle said, get the out. And he went out that way, and we hear Mike's door hit something, and Mike came out, and we heard gunshots. And Mike, he ran into my room, and he told me and Amber to shut up. If we said anything to anyone, he would fucking kill us.
So this is after the gunshots?
Yeah.
He came back into the house?
Yeah, with the gun.
In his hand?
Waving it around.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a revolver.
Okay.
I mean, he's letting us, touch it and shit, so our fingerprints are on it. So we didn't really want to be in the house.
Okay, but what did you notice about the house?
It, it looked, cleaner.
Can you draw me a drawing of your house?
I guess.
I just want to try to get a picture of what exactly.
Idea. Well, my house is a crime scene, so okay.
Draw me the front door, how you come in the living room.
Okay, I'll start with this. This is the whole house itself.
Do you think what you did was right or wrong?
I think it was wrong.
Well, at least I'm getting that from you. We know the difference between right and wrong.
I just want to die.
I don't want you to. You have a baby to live for, okay?
Yeah, but how am I going to live for it if I'm in jail?
It's a bridge we have to cross when we get there.
I just don't want to get in this. I didn't even want to get in this. I just wanted to get my life together. I was planning on going to the military and everything, but it's out of the picture now.
So you
never in the house.
You're almost there.
I thought
You're almost there. No.
Something about taking his ass. That's it.
It was a little bit more than that. They had this whole thing has been planned. Can we agree with that?
I mean, I don't know.
Can you not agree with me that this thing was planned prior to him getting over to the house? You knew that he was coming over to the house. Can we agree on that? Okay. So you knew after the point where you met him at the corner that you guys were going to get him to the house. You knew that he was coming. It wasn't like it was unannounced, correct?
Yeah.
So you lied to me about that. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get an understanding. We're almost there, but we're not there yet.
Though,
we're not there yet.
I guess they were planning it out or whatnot, but I had been talking on the phone with my friend Megan in the front yard or whatever, and I don't know when they planned it. I really don't. Amber said something.
You may not know, and I'm going to give you this one. You may not know when the initial plan, but you were part of the plan once it got started. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
But the name coming up again and again was Michael Bargo, and he was nowhere to be found.
I had to. They knew we were lying.
At one point, they were all put in the same interview room together, as the police watched them talking through the camera.
You know, people are gonna fucking hate us for this. People that don't even know us are gonna be looking for us if we get out of this. There's a fucking 15-year-old kid murdered because of us. You honestly think people want to be around that? You think people think there's those kind of people are supposed to be here?
Yeah, but it's not our fault.
Hell, I don't even like them fucking kind of people, and I'm one of them now.
I don't
And I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, I didn't want none of this happen.
Neither did we. We just got stupid and fell into Mike's trap.
Like always.
Exactly.
Like always.
Like always, because he knows he can talk me into anything. I just kept saying I didn't see the body, I didn't see any blood. I stayed in my room.
I'm completely emotionless. I have no emotion.
And now we're all going down for what Mike did. We go back to me, she's like, where was the blood at? Where was the body at? I was like, I don't know where it all happened.
Detective Stroop didn't hold back her read on Amber. "I believe she is manipulative," she said. "I believe she's deeply disturbing. I believe that she really orchestrated a lot of this." When Stroop walked back into the room and told them plainly they were all headed to holding cells for the night,
You're all going to be booked with first-degree premeditated murder. You two will go to the Juvenile Assessment Center. You will go to the Marion County Jail. Okay?
For how long?
Take a deep breath. You'll have no bond. You won't be getting out. This is a very serious crime. I don't think it gets much more serious than this.
The reactions split down the middle. Charlie broke down in tears. Amber, by contrast, sat there calm, almost detached, like she'd just been told something minor. Stroop said it was clear Amber still believed she'd be walking out of this soon. She reportedly told someone that even if she did serve time, she figured it'd only be a few years.
Well, we're all in for murderers. I'm gonna kill him 20 by that like that.
By then, Michael Bargo had caught wind of what was happening. He'd convinced Justin Stowe to drive him 80 miles away to hide out with another girlfriend's family, and once he got there, he apparently told anyone who'd listen exactly what he'd done to Seth. Police caught up with him the next day. His appearance alone told a story.
You said you want to talk to a lawyer. Did you want I talk to a lawyer, or do you want to talk to me? I want to clarify that first.
I'll talk to a lawyer.
Okay.
What the hell is going on?
I think you clearly know I can't talk to you about anything. You've already requested your attorney. You lost that opportunity to talk.
He asked for a lawyer immediately and refused to say another word. Later, he'd deny that he and Amber were ever more than friends, even though Amber said they had matching tattoos and acted like a couple. She'd eventually admit that part of why she got involved with Michael was to hurt Seth. Everything investigators were uncovering pointed to one thing. Michael Bargo was consumed by jealousy and hatred, and he wanted Seth gone, no matter what it took. For Sonia, the picture investigators were painting only confirmed every instinct she'd had about Amber. Scott, Seth's dad, was far less measured. "I want them to pay for what happened," he said. "No, let me put this another way. I wanted them all to suffer consequences, and I wouldn't lose a bit of sleep over it." As the investigation pieced things together, a disturbing picture emerged. It had started as just another day at Charlie's trailer, the 5 of them hanging around. Michael began talking about how much he hated Seth, and that conversation allegedly turned into something much darker, a plan to lure Seth to the trailer and make sure he never left. Amber reportedly checked in with Michael, asking if it was time to move forward with their plan, once she knew Seth was on his way. When he arrived, Justin and Kyle confronted him first, before Michael took things further. Seth tried to run. He nearly made it to the main road, but Justin caught up with him and held him back while Michael continued the assault. At some point during the struggle, Seth died. What followed was a coordinated effort to cover it all up. The group worked to conceal what had happened to Seth's remains and destroy evidence in a fire pit out back. They stayed at the property through the night, cleaning, scrubbing the place down with bleach, trying to erase any trace of what had taken place.
Like, and Kyle put him in like this blue thingy, and
What's a blue thing?
I don't know, it's like a bag or something.
Okay.
I took him out to the fire.
I just need to know, did you guys put the body into the burn pit?
Well, I grabbed him, I helped him put it in there. But then I walked back into the house and he did what he did. I told him I can't do it. He put in the body.
Was he dead when you guys put him in the fire?
Yeah,
How do you know that?
because Mike shot him again.
Because he was still alive?
Yeah.
So he took at least 4 bullets. He was still alive. So Mike shot him one more time in the bathtub because he was still alive.
The full details of Seth's final moments were never entirely established. That's where a 6th name enters the case. 37-year-old James Haven III, Kyle and Amber's former stepfather, arrived the next morning and helped dispose of evidence connected to Seth's death at a nearby quarry. He later claimed he had no idea what was inside. Investigators didn't believe him for a second. And while Michael was the one who carried out the fatal attack, investigators were clear. This wasn't a case of one person acting alone while everyone else watched. Amber had been involved in preparing the weapon that day. Seth never would have gone to that trailer if she hadn't lured him there. And she knew exactly what Michael had planned. She co-signed it. So did the rest of them. Whether by force or by choice, each person at that trailer played a role in the attack, the cover-up, or both. And each of them would eventually have to answer for it. A search of the trailer turned up signs of violence in multiple rooms, along with the weapon and more evidence buried in that backyard fire pit. Detective Rhonda Stroop called Sonia and told her she was on her way over to talk. When she arrived, the house was already packed with family, because word had spread that Rhonda was coming, and everyone assumed it meant Seth was coming home with her. They were ready to welcome him back. Rhonda said she could feel the weight of that moment as she delivered the truth. Sonia was listening, but her eyes kept searching Rhonda's face, hoping for some sign that what she was hearing wasn't real. Telling a parent their child is gone is hard enough. Telling her the circumstances behind it made the conversation almost unbearable.
15-year-old Seth Jackson was beaten, shot, and burned at a Summerfield home Sunday.
Right now, local detectives are piecing together the final brutal moments of Seth Jackson's life.
Investigators say he was lured to the home by former girlfriend, ninth grader Amber Wright, then attacked, shot, and burned.
Breaking news in Marion County this morning, where 6 people have been arrested in connection to a murder last weekend. Those 6 are accused of luring 15-year-old Seth Jackson to a home in Summerfield and beating and then shooting him.
Michael Bargo Jr., Charlie Ileli, Justin Stowe, Amber Wright, and Kyle Hooper were all charged with premeditated first-degree murder. James Haven III was charged as an accessory after the fact. Even though Amber and Kyle were only 15 and 16, the severity and planning behind the crime meant they were indicted as adults. Prosecutors made it clear early on there would be no plea deals on the table. This was either the death penalty or life in prison. Nothing less.
It was just a teenage breakup.
But it ended in a murder so brutal, detectives said they'd never encountered anything like it before. And right now they're still searching for the victim's remains. They say 15-year-old Amber Wright lured her 15-year-old ex-boyfriend, Seth Jackson, to a house where her suspected new boyfriend plotted to kill him. New this hour, Channel 9's Nancy Alvarez has the Facebook conversation exposing how contentious their relationship was.
You can tell by their grief. 15-year-old Seth Jackson was loved by his friends and family. Carrie Williams' kids were close to him, and she was with his parents when detectives broke the news of his murder.
It was really hard. A bunch of his friends were over there, and it was just, the look on his parents' face was just horrible.
Detectives say Seth's ex-girlfriend lured him to this house with text messages about wanting to get back together. She is one of 5 people accused of torturing and murdering him after he arrived.
He was beaten about the head with some wooden object. He may have been hit in the head with an axe handle. He was shot once. He was able to break free. He was tackled. He was shot once again.
The motive behind the violence is something everyone is struggling to understand. Their only clue, Seth's Facebook page and a series of messages between him and his ex-girlfriend filled with profanity. He accuses her of cheating. She writes, "You continuously write expletive about me." Seth posted, "I said I was done with you and you should be done with me." Then Amber posted, "It takes a real man to accept the fact that he got broke up with." An online argument that may have fueled a vicious murder.
Kids fight all the time. How could you go and murder somebody, premeditate a murder like that?
Here outside the home where the murder happened, a memorial continues to grow.
The Marion County Sheriff's investigator said that the way that this had been plotted, carried out, and the level of disregard for human life was something they had never seen before. Our detectives, seasoned detectives, shook their heads in disbelief because this type of first-degree murder is unimaginable, one said. Finding out who had killed Seth was only half the battle. They still didn't know where he was. They knew the paint cans had been transported to a flooded rock quarry, so it was time to search the water. On the way there, they knew that they were on the right path when they saw the big circles on the ground where the cans had been briefly put down before being moved again. Divers went into the quarry and eventually recovered the containers. 3 5-gallon buckets with wires and bricks tied to them to help them sink. And inside was Seth's remains.
Well, on a day of big stories, this one is likely to make national headlines. Marion County deputies think this bucket holds the remains of a teen they say was killed in a horrific way. In all, dive teams found 3 buckets after hours of searching a lime rock pit in Ocala. That's about 30 miles from the home of 53rd Avenue in Summerfield, where deputies say Seth Jackson was lured, beaten, shot repeatedly, and then his body burned. 6 people are charged, the youngest just 15 years old. Local 6's Lewis Bolden has more.
Crime scene investigators spent the day sifting through the backyard of this house, the backyard where detectives say 15-year-old Seth Jackson's body was burned after he had been beaten and shot to death.
The details is gross.
Neighbors still can't believe it happened.
You don't expect that here. This neighborhood, everybody knows each other.
Jackson was with his friend Brittany Jones when he got a text from Amber asking him to come over.
He's like, no, I probably won't. I was like, well, don't go home tonight. And he was like, I will. And then he came here anyways.
Heinous. I don't know what else to say. It's horrible.
Typically, it takes a long time and a lot of heat to burn a body completely, so it was burning for several hours through the night into the morning.
27-year-old James Haven allegedly helped Bargo dump the remains, which detectives believe they found in a lime rock pit Wednesday afternoon.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know anybody was that sick to do something like that to a 15-year-old little kid.
All of the suspects are charged with first-degree murder, except for James Havens, who is charged as an accessory after the fact.
I love the boy, and I truly miss him, and I really wish it wouldn't have happened to him.
I mean, there was an obvious dislike between Bargo and Seth Jackson. How they got to that point in their lives, that part I don't know.
Some people that were mad at him over a girl, and that's why all this took place.
The original report came in concerning Seth Jackson that he was either run away or he was missing. Well, when that report hit the media, the kid, Kyle, mentioned to his mother, he's not missing. He's dead.
Investigators say 37-year-old James Havens III was aware of the plan to kill the teenager. He allegedly assisted in the disposal of the victim's remains.
Honestly, they deserve to be in there, and I hope they never get out.
Seth's family finally had somewhere to lay him to rest, a place they could visit. But the legal fight was only beginning. With everyone pleading not guilty, the case was headed to trial. 6 separate trials, each one forcing the family to relive the same painful details all over again. Charlie Ileli's trial came first. According to one detective, she'd been laughing with relatives beforehand about where they'd go celebrate once she was acquitted. That's how confident she was. Her defense argued she'd been threatened at gunpoint by Michael and forced to go along with it, that she was a victim too, terrified for her own life. But prosecutors saw it differently. Charlie hadn't just been swept up in the moment. She'd helped bring Seth to the property, known exactly what Amber's messages meant, and had every chance to walk away or call for help. Instead, she stayed, and she stayed involved long after Seth was gone. The state's message was simple. Charlie Ileli wasn't some frightened bystander. Seth was the one who paid the price.
Charlie Ely burst into tears after the verdict was read. Guilty of murder in the first degree for her part in 15-year-old Seth Jackson's murder.
Jury finds as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
Seth's family sat on one side of the courtroom, emotional after the verdict. Ely's family sat on the other side, also emotional. Her grandfather and the aunt who raised her in Maryland. Ely's grandfather, James, has been there from the start.
To hell with all of them, that's what I say. Because they didn't give a, she's just a kid.
After an hour and a half, they came back with a guilty verdict. Ely's lawyer plans to appeal.
This is a tragedy. It's a tragedy for Seth Jackson. It's a tragedy for my client. No one won.
About 10 minutes after the verdict was read, Ely returned to the courtroom wearing an orange and white jumpsuit, a sharp contrast to the gray pinstripe suit she had on prior. She sobbed as she walked away in handcuffs.
A year later, Amber and Kyle stood trial together, though each had a separate jury. Rhonda noted a real change in Kyle since his arrest. He was the only one who consistently showed remorse, breaking down in tears throughout the proceedings. It was clear the weight of what he'd done had finally hit him. But it was far too late to change anything.
In handcuffs and shackles, 19-year-old Charlie K. Ely takes a stand in the murder trial of Kyle Hooper and his sister Amber Wright, but it's in the absence of the two juries.
Miss Ely, you were present in the house on the day that Seth Jackson was killed?
I'd rather not answer that.
At that time, did you hear Kyle Hooper, before Seth Jackson was killed, say, "Get the out of the house"?
I'd like to remain silent.
Ely took the fifth because her case is on appeal by her attorney. Kyle Hooper kept his head down during some of the assistant medical examiner's testimony about Seth Jackson's burned body parts and bone fragments.
Cause of death is gunshot wound or wounds and blunt force trauma, and manner of death, homicide.
2 more guilty verdicts followed.
Teenage siblings Amber Wright and Kyle Hooper guilty of murder in the first degree.
Facing the state's harshest possible sentence himself, Justin Stowe changed his plea to guilty, avoiding both another trial and the most severe outcome. A year after that, it was finally time for the ringleader, Michael Bargo, to face trial. Prosecutors were seeking capital punishment against him too, a sentence that would make him the youngest person facing Florida's most severe penalty.
I go out there to hang out with everybody too. I go out there, and when I go out there, you know, we hang out, you know, it's kind of like passing old peace pipe, you know, just build that, you know, mend that fence. We're all hanging out. Soto, somebody, I think in a white minivan, somebody came and picked him up. Yeah, somebody came and picked him up. And that left, you know, that pretty much left me, Amber, Charlie, and Kyle. Well, they had some show that was coming on. Some girly Desperate Housewives type stuff, something I wouldn't watch. And, you know, I told them, I don't want to watch this. We ended up taking their TV and put it in their room for them. You know, and me and Kyle started hung out in my room.
His case alone produced more than 6,000 pages of discovery, including transcripts from a former cellmate. A corrections officer testified that he'd overheard Michael bragging to another inmate, saying there were only 2 witnesses who'd actually seen what happened to Seth. Michael admitted he was responsible for Seth's death, but insisted it hadn't been planned. Rhonda said he carried himself in court exactly as he had throughout the whole investigation, confident, unbothered, almost enjoying the attention, like he was some kind of local celebrity holding court on the stand.
I mean, I left. Now, I could have gone down to 137th, which would have taken me straight shot through, but I'm all beat up. I'm drunk. I'm high. You know, I look like hell, you know. And this is the same road that my dad and my grandma live on, you know. And I don't want to go past their house and then be outside, you know, let the dogs use the bathroom. They sit out there, in the garage and watch the news and stuff. I don't want to walk by and them see me walking by and you know, I'm all messed up. You know, grandma would have a, you know, conniption if she did. My understanding what happened was she called to break up with him because he was abusive. In fact, Tracy Wright was the one who told her she needed to break up with him, and she went and called him and broke up with him. Now, it somehow got around to that she's breaking up with him because she was sleeping with me, and that was an accusation from him. And I've never slept with Amber.
Okay. So somehow, again, you're just the misunderstood victim in this whole thing.
Somehow I got dragged in the middle of that.
Right. Which goes back to my earlier question. You are just a misunderstood victim in the case.
Your Honor, repetitive castigating. Sustained.
Let's talk about another girlfriend that we haven't talked about. How about Tessa McLam?
All right.
Okay. How old was Tessa when you were dating her?
15.
Tried maybe 13? 14?
I know.
How about the real reason that you moved into Charlie Ely's house?
I already told you the real reason why I moved in. Now, there were other things going on, but it was already set that I was moving in there.
Let's talk about those other things that were going on.
All right.
You testified that you moved into Charlie Ely's house because she said to you, hey, I need rent money, you want to move in.
I was going to help her with rent, yeah.
But the real reason you moved in there is because Tessa's father found out you two had slept together, and he said he was going to call the police.
See, there's another problem with that. I never slept with her, and she knows I didn't. You want me to go into this?
Sure.
Can I, please? What had happened was, me and her had dated. I cared about this girl deeply. I'm not gonna say I didn't. She got drunk and told her aunt that she slept with me, which was a lie, which she knows was a lie. Her and her mom both know it was a lie. Yes, I cared about her, but I never took it that far. I never slept with her.
In the state of Florida versus Michael Shane Bargo, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find as follows as the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm, as charged in the indictment. So say we all, dated this 20th day of August 2015.
Guilty. Sentencing followed for all of them.
Life behind bars for a local teen convicted for her part in a gruesome murder.
It is the judgment of the law and the sentence of the court that you spend the remainder of your natural life confined in the Florida Department of Corrections.
Late breaking, 2 teenage siblings will spend the rest of their lives in prison.
It is the judgment of the law and the sentence of the court that for the premeditated murder of Seth Jackson, you, Michael Shane Bargo, are sentenced to death.
Charlie, Justin, Kyle, and Amber were each sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder. Kyle broke down in tears as he addressed Seth's family directly in court.
I don't know how it feels to have your son to be lost. I don't. But and I could only imagine how hard it could be for you. And I know if it was me, I know how my family would feel. And I know it may not help or bring him back in any way. But I am sorry for what I have done.
Michael Bargo was sentenced to death, becoming, at the time, the youngest person on death row in Florida. He's appealed twice since, both times denied. As of now, he remains on death row with no execution date set. In a letter to his family, he wrote, "I'm sorry for everything. I really do wish that I could have a second chance. It kills me knowing that I'm putting you all through this. I just wish that this was all one big nightmare and I could finally wake up. It's kind of weird. Now that I'm here, my head is clear. My mind is clearer, and my dreams get more vivid as the days go by. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up at night and tried walking out the door like it was my bedroom door. I really feel like I'm losing my mind. The reality is slowly slipping away."
The most infamous crimes in Marion County history, and in just hours, opening statements will begin in the retrial of one of the teens right at the center of this investigation. According to the Callous Star banner, lawyers in the Amber Wright trial agreed on a field of 8 jurors yesterday. Wright is facing charges in the 2011 death of her ex-boyfriend, Seth Jackson. Prosecutors.
Amber's case took an unexpected turn. Now 19, she was granted a retrial after courts ruled her taped confession inadmissible over how police had handled her Miranda rights. But even without that confession, the evidence against her held up, and she was found guilty a second time. This time, though, her sentence changed. Life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. If that plays out, she could walk free in her mid-40s. The judge didn't mince words at sentencing. "I have not seen or heard anything more despicable than what led to Seth Jackson's death. I cannot imagine a circumstance worse. And I pray to God that the reason behind all this is some chemical imbalance or a brain that hasn't matured. It's really hard to deal with the notion that such an act could occur without an explanation." Sonia had her own response to that. "It doesn't take a fully developed mind to understand right from wrong," she said. "A 2-year-old learns that hurting others is not acceptable in our society."
The hours before any action was taken proves the kind of person they really are. They had plenty of time to think about what was going to happen. The thoughts running through their minds should have raised red flags. They say their minds are not fully developed at this age. This was no accident. This was a planned murder that they all agreed to, talked about, and thought about. They even took steps to prepare for it. Seth and Kyle were friends at one time. Kyle even spent time in our home.
Years later, Amber Wright appeared on the show Killer Women with Piers Morgan. For the first time, she admitted on camera that she knew exactly what was going to happen when she texted Seth that day. She knew what she was setting in motion.
But you knew that he was going to be burned because you were heard talking about lighting the fire.
Yes, I knew there was going to be a fire. I knew he was going to be burnt. I didn't know they were going to drop him over a cliff.
Why did Seth have to die?
I don't know. There was no reason. I don't have a reason. I just went along.
There seems to be some doubt as to whether you and Mike had a sexual relationship. What's the truth?
Me and Michael did not have a relationship. Yes, we did have sex a couple times. And I think that was more on my part, trying to aggravate and hurt Seth.
So you were deliberately having sex with a guy that you knew he hated just to aggravate him?
I mean, yeah.
And yet, according to viewers, even as she said all the right things, there were moments on camera where a smile seemed to slip through.
Unforgiveness, I don't do that anymore. I'm not evil. I'm not.
When you think back to what went on in that trailer that afternoon, what do you feel?
Honestly, empty. After he died, and I cleaned up, I was no longer partaking in anything. So after that, it's like he disappeared.
Kyle Hooper's case wasn't over either. His original sentence was overturned, and in 2016 he was granted a retrial. The outcome mirrored his sister's. Another life sentence, but with the possibility of parole after 25 years. James Haven, charged as an accessory after the fact, was initially found incompetent to stand trial. 7 years after Seth's death, he finally changed his plea to guilty, facing up to 30 years behind bars. Some sources report he ultimately received a 10-year sentence, but no verified final number has ever been confirmed. If you know more, drop it in the comments below. Then, in 2020, Charlie Elley's case took its own unexpected turn. After serving 9 years at a correctional facility for women,
Charlie Ely was originally supposed to spend the rest of her life in prison, but earlier this year, a federal judge threw out her murder conviction, saying she did not receive a fair trial. Now Ely is getting out.
Can you tell me your full name, please?
Charlie K. Ely. Charlie Ely has spent nearly 10 years in prison for murder, but today, while appearing in court by video conference, Ely entered into a new plea agreement that will allow her to walk free.
she brought on a high-profile new attorney, one who'd previously represented names like Casey Anthony, Aaron Hernandez, and Harvey Weinstein. He argued that Charlie's original defense had made critical errors that cost her a fair trial. A federal judge agreed, vacating her original conviction. Charlie then pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of second-degree murder, avoiding another trial altogether. With time already served exceeding her new sentence, she walked free. Her attorney called it a bittersweet day. He'd been fighting for her for 8 years. "I'm really happy that she's getting out, but she's forever scarred," he said. "This was a plea of convenience. She maintains her innocence, and the facts show she's innocent. Charlie was mixed up with the wrong group of people. Her crime was being present at the scene. She is just a victim of being present. She had no role in the murder, no role in the cleanup, no role in this whatsoever. For Seth's father, Scott, there was no real way to make peace with what happened to the people responsible. What he truly wanted done to them wasn't something the law would ever allow. So instead, he spent years learning to push those feelings down. He says he hasn't lost his temper at anyone in years, and he counts that as a victory, even if it doesn't feel like one." Detective Rhonda Stroop never really left the Jackson family's life. To this day, Sonia will sometimes call her out of nowhere and say, "I don't think I'm going to make it." And Rhonda still goes. They'll sit down, make coffee, and talk for hours until Sonia feels steady enough to keep going. The murder of Seth Tyler Jackson remains one of the most talked about cases Marion County has ever seen, not just among the people who knew him, but across the wider community and the investigators who worked it. Some cases are hard to understand simply because of how senseless they are. This one is harder still, because of just how far it went. The betrayal, the planning, the sheer number of people involved. Especially when you remember how young every single one of them was. In the end, it wasn't some elaborate criminal scheme. It was petty jealousy and high school drama that spiraled into the death of a 15-year-old boy. And instead of watching him grow up into the man he was meant to become, his family is left only with the memory of how it ended. Thank you for watching this true crime documentary. If this story stuck with you, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe for more cases like this one. New documentaries drop regularly, and we'd love to have you along for the next one.